Success is not random. Progress is not accidental. And mastery is not inherited, it's earned. Master the game. Winning in life, business, and the mind is for those who refuse to leave their future to chance. It's for the leader who knows that influence comes not from title, but from mindset. For the entrepreneur who understands that strategy is the difference between survival and dominance. And for the individual who realizes that true fulfillment doesn't come from external wins, but from mastering the internal game. In a world of distractions, noise, and constant change, the most successful people don't react, they lead. They don't guess, they plan. They don't chase success, they build it, systematically and intentionally. This book distills decades of insight into a clear and powerful framework, one that aligns your thinking with action, your vision with execution, and your ambition with discipline. Whether you're shaping a business, leading a team, or redefining your personal path, Master the Game offers a strategic foundation for long-term impact. It's not about shortcuts. It's about systems. It's not about luck. It's about leverage. And above all, it's about playing the game with clarity, confidence, and control. So if you're ready to move beyond theory and step into transformation, let's begin. Chapter 1. The game is real, whether you like it or not. You're already playing. You might not have realized it yet, but you're in the game. Not a video game. Not a board game. Not even a sport. But a far more complex and consequential one, the game of life, business, and the mind. Whether you're aware of it or not, you're already moving across its board, making decisions, facing obstacles, and reacting to unseen forces shaping your path. The first and most important step toward winning this game is understanding that it exists. Because if you don't believe there's a game happening, you'll never learn the rules. If you don't know the rules, you won't understand why some people seem to rise effortlessly while others struggle endlessly. And if you never take the initiative to play on purpose, you'll be played instead. That's not a metaphor. That's reality. Denial is not protection, it's a weakness. Many people live their lives under the illusion that life is fair, that hard work always pays off, or that destiny will eventually reward them for being good. These beliefs may sound noble, even comforting, but they are dangerous precisely because they lull us into passivity. We tell ourselves things like, if I just keep my head down and work hard, good things will come. Eventually, someone will notice how much I've sacrificed. Life should be about doing what you love, not playing games. But here's the truth, no amount of hard work, talent, or virtue guarantees success if you don't understand how the system works. In fact, many of the most talented, kind-hearted, and hard-working people in the world are stuck precisely because they refuse to see the game for what it is. Denial doesn't protect you, it exposes you. When you pretend life isn't a game, you give up control. You become reactive instead of proactive, a bystander rather than a player. You let other people set the rules, define the goals, and decide who wins. And then you wonder why you're losing. Life isn't fair, it's strategic. Let's be absolutely clear, life is not fair. It never was, and it never will be. Some people are born into wealth and opportunity. Others fight for every inch of progress. Some get lucky breaks, others face relentless hardship. But fairness has nothing to do with strategy. What matters is this, you can't change where you start, but you can change how you play. Winners understand this. They don't waste time complaining about unfairness, they adapt, they strategize, and they move forward. They recognize that life is not a level playing field, but a constantly shifting terrain where awareness, agility, and action determine outcomes. Fairness is an ideal. Strategy is a necessity. So instead of asking, why me, winners ask, what now? Instead of waiting for permission or recognition, they take ownership of their position on the board. Instead of hoping someone else will make things better, they realize that the only way to change the game is by mastering it. Knowing the game versus playing it well. There's a big difference between knowing the game exists and actually playing it well. Just like knowing the rules of chess doesn't mean you'll win against a grandmaster, understanding that life is a game doesn't automatically make you a winner. Knowledge alone is not enough. Awareness must lead to action. Many people stop at the realization stage. They read self-help books, attend seminars, watch motivational videos, and nod along as they hear the same truths over and over again. But they never translate that knowledge into consistent, strategic behavior. They know the game is real, but they still play like amateurs. Playing well means more than just showing up. It means studying the field, understanding the players, anticipating moves, and preparing for consequences. It means developing skills, building habits, and refining strategies over time. It means taking responsibility for your position on the board, and refusing to accept defeat unless you've given everything you have. Winners see the field before stepping onto it. One of the key differences between average players and elite performers is vision. Winners don't just react to what's right in front of them. They look ahead. They study the game before they even begin to play. They analyze patterns, anticipate trends, and prepare themselves mentally and emotionally for the challenges ahead. They don't wait until they're in the middle of a crisis to figure out what's going on. They build mental models, frameworks, and strategies long before they need them. This is true in sports, in business, and in life. Think of the best athletes. They spend hours watching footage of opponents, analyzing plays, visualizing performance, even when they're not on the field. The same applies to top entrepreneurs, military leaders, and innovators. Their success isn't just due to talent or luck. It's due to preparation. Before you ever make a move, you should already understand the game you're stepping into. Ask yourself, what are the rules, even if they're unwritten? Who are the key players? What are the hidden dynamics at play? What advantages do I bring to the table? What weaknesses do I need to address? These aren't just philosophical questions. They're practical ones. The more clearly you can answer them, the better prepared you'll be to navigate the challenges ahead. Your first move, admit it's happening. There's a moment in every great story where the hero realizes the truth, that the world isn't what they thought it was. That there's something bigger at play. That they've been living inside a system they never questioned. That moment is often uncomfortable. Sometimes painful. But it's also powerful. Because once you see the truth, you can no longer go back to ignorance. This is your moment. Your first move in the game is not a grand gesture or a dramatic action. It's simply this: admit that the game is happening. Admit that life isn't passive. That success doesn't just fall into your lap. That effort alone isn't enough. That you have to play, intentionally, strategically, and consistently, if you want to win. Once you make that admission, everything changes. Suddenly, setbacks don't feel like personal failures, they feel like lessons. Opportunities don't seem random, they appear as openings you can exploit. People don't seem like obstacles, they become potential allies or competitors you can learn from. You shift from victim to player. From observer to strategist. From follower to leader. And once you start playing with intention, you begin to win, not just in terms of money or status, but in clarity, confidence, and control over your own life. The rules may be unwritten, but they're absolute. No one hands you a rulebook when you're born. No one explains how power works, how influence is built, or how success really happens. That's because the rules of life aren't written in any official document. They're passed down through experience, observation, and mentorship. They're learned through trial and error, failure, and perseverance. But just because the rules aren't written doesn't mean they don't exist. In fact, the most powerful rules are often the unspoken ones, the cultural norms, social hierarchies, psychological triggers, and systemic structures that shape our world. Those who thrive are not necessarily the smartest, the strongest, or the luckiest. They are those who understand these invisible rules and use them to their advantage. They know that timing matters more than talent in certain moments. That relationships open doors logic cannot. That perception often counts more than reality. That consistency beats intensity. They don't break the rules, they master them. And they understand one final truth. If you don't play, you lose by default. There is no neutral ground. There is no safe zone. There is no place where you can stand outside the game and expect to win. So the question isn't whether you should play. The question is, will you play to win? Chapter 2, Know the Rules, even the unfair ones. The two sets of rules. There are two sets of rules in life, the ones they teach you, and the ones that actually determine who wins. The first set is easy to find. It's in school books, motivational quotes, corporate training manuals, and polite conversation. These are the official rules. Work hard and you'll succeed. Be kind and the world will reward you. Talent rises to the top. Do the right thing, even when no one is watching. These sound noble. Uplifting, even. But if you've ever followed them faithfully and still found yourself stuck while others leapfrogged ahead, you already know something most people refuse to admit. They don't tell the whole story. Because beneath the surface lies a second, more powerful set of rules, the unofficial ones. These aren't taught in schools or written on motivational posters. They're learned through experience, observation, and often, painful failure. These are the rules that decide who gets promoted, who builds wealth, who gains influence, and who remains unnoticed despite their effort. This chapter is about those rules. The real ones. The unfair ones. And how understanding them gives you an edge most people never see coming. Official versus unofficial rules. Official rules are what we say govern success. Unofficial rules are what actually do. Let's break it down with a simple example, getting hired. On paper, companies claim they hire based on merit. Skills, experience, education, and qualifications matter most. That's the official rule. But in reality, who gets hired often has just as much to do with who they know, how well they interview, whether they fit the company culture, if they look and speak like someone in charge, whether they negotiate aggressively or passively accept what's offered. That's not conspiracy theory, it's everyday business. Or take promotions. Officially, people get promoted because they work hard, deliver results, and show leadership potential. But unofficially, people get promoted because they understand office politics, align themselves with decision makers, position themselves as indispensable, and sometimes, simply because they ask. And here's the kicker, most people follow the official rules religiously, hoping they'll be rewarded. But unless they also learn and apply the unofficial ones, they'll stay stuck, confused, frustrated, and wondering why others seem to win without playing fair. The key to winning isn't rejecting the unofficial rules, it's mastering them. Why nice guys finish last, when they don't understand leverage? Let's talk about the nice guys. You know the type, they're kind, hardworking, ethical, and always willing to help. They believe in fairness, teamwork, and doing the right thing. And yet, time and again, they find themselves passed over for opportunities, promotions, or recognition. Why? Because being nice doesn't guarantee success. Understanding leverage does. Leverage is power. Not in the manipulative sense, but in the practical one. It's the ability to create value, control outcomes, and influence decisions. It's knowing when to say yes, and when to say no. When to step forward, and when to walk away. Nice guys often lack leverage because they believe that effort alone should be enough. They assume that if they just keep doing good work, someone will eventually notice and reward them. But the game doesn't work that way. In business and life, perception often matters more than performance. Visibility matters more than quiet competence. Relationships matter more than technical skill. And leverage, strategic positioning, negotiation strength, and timing matters more than raw effort. So when the nice guy is passed over for a promotion, he thinks, I worked harder than everyone. But the winner knew how to pitch the idea in a way that made the boss feel smart. Or built relationships with key decision makers. Or positioned themselves as irreplaceable by owning critical knowledge or resources. None of these things are inherently unethical. They're just part of the game. If you want to win, you must understand that being good is not enough, you have to be smart. Kindness without strategy is vulnerability. Hard work without leverage is invisible. And integrity without awareness is exploitation waiting to happen. How to spot the real rules without getting crushed trying. Learning the unofficial rules can be dangerous if you try to play them before you understand them. Many people enter the game thinking they can bend the rules, only to find themselves burned. Others try to ignore them entirely and end up sidelined. So how do you spot the real rules without falling into traps or compromising your values? Here's how. 1. Observe before you act. Winners don't rush into the game. They watch. They listen. They study the players, the dynamics, and the unspoken expectations. Before making a move, ask. What are people really rewarded for? Who holds the real power? What behaviors lead to advancement? What risks are tolerated, and which are punished? Pay attention to patterns. Look beyond titles and roles. Find out who actually influences decisions, and how. 2. Ask the right questions. Most people ask, what should I do? Winners ask, what happens when I do X instead of Y? Instead of blindly following advice, test assumptions. Experiment. Learn from small moves before making big bets. 3. Build your own leverage. You don't have to play dirty to gain leverage. You build it through skills, relationships, visibility, and value creation. Becoming irreplaceable doesn't mean hoarding information, it means becoming someone others rely on. It means delivering consistent value, building trust, and positioning yourself where you can make strategic choices. Leverage is not manipulation. It's empowerment. 4. Don't try to beat the system, master it. Trying to fight the system head-on rarely works. Instead, master it from within. Learn how decisions are made. Understand how influence flows. Align your goals with the needs of those in power, not to flatter, but to serve both your interests. You don't have to compromise your values to play the game. But you do have to understand how it's played. Play your game, not theirs. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to win someone else's game by someone else's rules. They chase careers they think they should want. They adopt strategies that don't fit their personality. They measure success by external standards rather than internal fulfillment. And then they wonder why they feel drained, disillusioned, or defeated. The truth is, there is no single version of success. There are only versions of success that work for you. Winning isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about creating your own path, on your terms, while still understanding the rules of the broader game. You can choose your field. You can define your goals. You can build your own style of influence and leadership. But whatever game you choose to play, you must still understand its mechanics. Because whether you're starting a business, leading a team, or building a personal brand, you're still operating within systems that have their own logic, biases, and structures. So don't reject the game. Don't resent the rules. Instead, master them and use them to build the life you want. Because the most powerful players aren't those who cheat. They're the ones who understand the game so deeply that they can reshape it. The rules may be unfair, but they can be mastered. Life isn't fair. Business isn't fair. Power dynamics aren't fair. But understanding them is. Knowledge of the rules, especially the hidden ones, is not cynicism. It's clarity. It's the difference between being used by the system and using the system to achieve your goals. So stop waiting for fairness. Stop hoping someone will recognize your efforts. Stop believing that hard work alone guarantees success. Instead, start learning the real rules. Start seeing the game clearly. And start playing it on your terms, with awareness, intention, and strategy. Because once you know the rules, you can change the game. Chapter 3. Build your foundation, discipline over motivation. The myth of motivation. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Motivation is unreliable. It comes in waves. It shows up when you're rested, inspired, or facing a deadline. But just as often, it disappears when you need it most, when you're tired, overwhelmed, or unsure if what you're doing even matters. And yet, many people build their entire approach to success on the hope that they'll feel like working hard, chasing goals, or pushing through discomfort. Spoiler alert, that feeling rarely arrives uninvited. Winners understand this. They don't wait for motivation to strike like lightning before they take action. Instead, they rely on something far more powerful and predictable: discipline. Because discipline doesn't depend on how you feel. It operates regardless of mood, emotion, or circumstance. It's not about inspiration, it's about commitment. Not about hype, it's about habit. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. And in the long game of life and business, consistency beats intensity every time. Why discipline beats talent when talent lacks consistency? Talent is valuable. No one can deny that natural ability gives some people a head start. But talent without discipline is wasted potential. Think of all the gifted athletes who never made it to the pros. The brilliant students who dropped out. The promising entrepreneurs who fizzled after the first setback. What do they all have in common? They had the raw ability, but not the consistency. Discipline is the great equalizer. It turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces, not because they're smarter or luckier, but because they show up, day after day, and do the work. Talent may open doors, but only discipline walks through them, and keeps walking, even when it hurts. The most successful people in the world aren't necessarily the most talented, they're the ones who refuse to quit. Who kept going when others gave up. Who built habits that turn small actions into extraordinary results over time. That's not magic. That's math. And it starts with building a foundation strong enough to support your ambitions. Daily routines that compound into massive results. Big wins are the result of small, consistent actions repeated over time. This is the power of compounding. A single healthy meal won't transform your body. One workout won't give you six-pack abs. One productive day won't change your career. But 100 days of good meals, regular workouts, and focused effort? That's transformational. Discipline works the same way. Every time you choose focus over distraction, effort over ease, and structure over chaos, you make a deposit in the bank of long-term success. Over time, those deposits compound. You become more capable, more resilient, more confident. Your routines become your identity. And once discipline becomes part of who you are, not just what you do, you've crossed a threshold few ever reach. So how do you build these daily routines? Not by waiting for motivation. Not by relying on willpower alone. But by designing systems that make consistency easy, even automatic. The lie of work-life balance and how to manage energy, not time. Let's address another myth: work-life balance. It sounds appealing. A perfect equilibrium between professional ambition and personal fulfillment. But in reality, it's a flawed concept. Balance implies stability. Equilibrium. But life isn't static. It's dynamic. Demands shift. Priorities change. Seasons of high performance alternate with periods of rest and reflection. Trying to maintain perfect balance is like trying to freeze a wave in motion. It's impossible. Instead of chasing balance, winners focus on energy management. Because time is finite. Energy is renewable. You can't get more hours in the day, but you can increase your capacity to do meaningful work within those hours. Energy comes from physical health, sleep, nutrition, movement, mental clarity, focus, mindset, emotional regulation, purpose alignment, doing work that matters to you, recovery, rest, relationships, hobbies. When you manage your energy well, you don't burn out. You stay sharp. You stay motivated, not because you forced yourself, but because you've created the conditions for sustained performance. Discipline isn't about grinding harder. It's about structuring your life so you can perform at your best, every day. Which brings us to the final piece of the foundation. Building unbreakable habits through brutal simplicity. Most people fail to build lasting habits because they overcomplicate things. They set overly ambitious goals. They try to change too much at once. They chase perfection instead of progress. And then they crash. Winners do the opposite. They build unbreakable habits through brutal simplicity. They don't try to overhaul their lives overnight. They start small. They pick one thing. And they do it consistently until it becomes automatic. Here's how. 1. Start small enough that failure is impossible. Want to build a morning routine? Don't start with a 2-hour ritual of meditation, journaling, and exercise. Start with 5 minutes of stretching. Or 1 glass of water. Or simply opening the blinds. Make the entry point so easy that skipping feels absurd. Once that becomes a habit, add the next layer. 2. Stack new habits onto existing ones. Use the power of habit chaining. Brushing your teeth? Add flossing right after. Finishing work? Take 5 minutes to plan tomorrow's top priority. Making coffee? Do 10 push-ups while it brews. By linking new habits to existing ones, you piggyback on momentum rather than fighting inertia. 3. Track progress visually. Create a visual representation of your consistency, a habit tracker, calendar, or checklist. Seeing a streak grow builds motivation naturally. Seeing a broken chain creates a stronger sense of accountability than any guilt trip ever could. 4. Eliminate friction. Make good habits easy and bad habits hard. Want to read more? Keep a book on your nightstand. Remove distractions from your phone. Set a daily page goal. Want to eat healthier? Prep meals in advance. Keep junk food out of the house. Discipline thrives in environments that support it. 5. Be ruthless about what stays. Discipline requires saying no to distractions, to excuses, to anything that pulls you off course. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer options. Fewer decisions. More clarity. And brutal honesty about what actually moves the needle. Discipline is the foundation of all greatness. Motivation fades. Talent plateaus. But discipline builds empires. It's the quiet force behind every great achievement. The invisible engine behind every success story. The difference between dreaming and doing. So stop waiting for inspiration. Stop hoping for perfect conditions. Start where you are. Build simple, repeatable habits. Manage your energy like a pro. And above all, show up. Because the moment you choose discipline over motivation, you begin to win the game. Chapter 4, Master the Mind, Emotional Control is Power. The quietest superpower. Most people think power comes from strength, money, or influence. But the greatest source of power, especially in life and business, is something far less visible. Emotional control. It doesn't make headlines. It doesn't get posted on social media. But it separates those who stay calm under pressure from those who lose their heads at the first sign of trouble. It determines whether you react impulsively or respond strategically. It decides whether you let fear run your decisions or lead with clarity. And it defines whether you're ruled by your emotions or you rule them. This is the quietest superpower. And it's the one that gives winners their edge. Because when everyone else is panicking, the person who stays calm makes the best move. When others are driven by ego, the emotionally intelligent player sees the bigger picture. When chaos erupts, the master of their mind becomes the leader everyone turns to. So if you want to win the game of life, business, and the mind, you must start here. Master yourself. How emotional reactivity kills opportunity. Let's talk about reactivity. You've seen it before, and maybe even experienced it yourself. A tough email hits your inbox and suddenly your entire day is ruined. Someone challenges your idea in a meeting, and instead of thinking clearly, you defend your position just to save face. You feel slighted, ignored, or disrespected, and your response is fueled by emotion, not strategy. This kind of reaction doesn't just damage relationships, it kills opportunities. Because emotional reactivity blinds you to reality. It narrows your focus. It distorts your perception. It causes you to act out of fear, frustration, or insecurity, rather than logic and long-term thinking. And in the game of success, that's a losing move. Think of all the deals lost because someone couldn't keep their cool. All the promotions missed because a person lashed out instead of listening. All the partnerships destroyed over pride or miscommunication. These weren't failures of skill or knowledge. They were failures of emotional control. Winners understand this. They know that how you respond to pressure, criticism, and setbacks determines your outcome far more than raw talent or intelligence ever could. So they train themselves to pause, not react. To observe, not panic. To choose their response, instead of letting emotion decide for them. That's not suppression. That's mastery. Training yourself to stay calm under pressure. The good news? Emotional control isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, like a muscle. And like any muscle, the more you train it, the stronger it becomes. So how do you train yourself to stay calm under pressure? Here are 4 proven strategies. 1. Pause before responding. One of the simplest but most powerful tools is the pause. Instead of reacting immediately to stress, conflict, or surprise, take a breath. Step back mentally. Ask yourself, what's really happening here? What's the best way to respond, not just what feels natural? Am I reacting to the situation, or to my own fears and assumptions? A split-second pause can prevent a lifetime of regret. 2. Create emotional distance. Emotion clouds judgment. So create space between you and the moment. Imagine you're watching the situation unfold from a third-person perspective. What would an outside observer see? What advice would you give to someone else in your shoes? This simple mental shift reduces emotional charge and increases clarity. 3. Practice under controlled stress. Just like athletes train under pressure to prepare for real games, you can train your mind to handle stress in controlled environments. Meditation. Cold showers. Public speaking. Difficult conversations. Physical training. All of these help build emotional resilience. The more you expose yourself to manageable discomfort, the better you'll handle real pressure when it matters. 4. Journal your triggers. Self-awareness is the foundation of emotional control. Keep a journal of situations where you tend to lose control. What sets you off? What patterns do you notice? Once you identify your triggers, you can prepare for them. You can rehearse responses. You can build strategies to stay grounded. Knowledge is half the battle. The cost of ego-driven decisions. Ego is another silent killer of opportunity. It masquerades as confidence, but it's actually insecurity disguised as superiority. People driven by ego make decisions based on how things look rather than how they work. They chase validation over value. They prioritize image over substance. And in the long run, ego-driven decisions almost always end in failure. Think of the entrepreneur who refuses to take feedback and ends up building a product no one wants. The manager who won't admit mistakes and loses the trust of their team. The employee who rejects collaboration because they believe they already know everything and gets left behind. Ego doesn't just hurt others. It hurts the person carrying it. Because ego shuts down learning. It blocks growth. It creates blind spots that eventually become fatal flaws. Winners don't deny their ego, they manage it. They stay humble. They seek feedback. They acknowledge what they don't know. And they constantly refine their approach. They understand that true confidence doesn't need to prove itself. It shows up through results. So if you want to win the game, don't feed your ego. Starve it. Because the quieter your ego, the clearer your thinking. And the clearer your thinking, the better your moves. Mental toughness is a competitive advantage. In sports, mental toughness separates champions from contenders. Same goes for business. Same goes for life. Mental toughness is not about being cold or unfeeling. It's about maintaining composure, clarity, and purpose, even in the face of adversity. It means staying focused when others get distracted. Pushing forward when others quit. Making hard decisions without hesitation or regret. And perhaps most importantly, it means staying emotionally neutral in moments where others lose control. That's your competitive advantage. Because while others are getting derailed by drama, fear, or ego, you're making smart, strategic moves. While others burn out from emotional turbulence, you're conserving energy and staying in the game longer. While others are ruled by their feelings, you're ruling your mind. That's not just discipline. That's dominance. Winning starts between your ears. You can have the best strategy, the strongest skills, the most resources. But if you can't control your mind, if you let fear, ego, or reactivity run the show, you'll never reach your full potential. Because the battlefield of success isn't out there. It's in here. Inside your head. Inside your reactions. Inside your ability to stay calm, clear, and in control, no matter what's thrown at you. So train your mind like a champion trains their body. Build awareness. Develop discipline. Master your emotions. Because once you do, you stop playing scared. You stop reacting to the noise. You stop giving away your power. And you start winning the game on your terms. Chapter 5. Play the long game. Patience is a strategy. Winners think in decades, losers think in days. The world rewards speed. We're bombarded with messages like, get rich quick. Launch fast, scale faster. Hustle harder today or someone else will win tomorrow. And while urgency has its place, there's a quiet war being waged beneath all the noise, one that most people don't even realize they're losing. It's the war between short-term thinking and long-term strategy. Most people live their lives reacting to the immediate. They chase trends. They obsess over quick wins. They make decisions based on what feels urgent rather than what truly matters. But winners? They think differently. They think in years, not hours. They play the long game. Because they know something most don't. Real success isn't built overnight. It's built through patience, persistence, and the willingness to delay gratification for something bigger. Why slow wins beat quick flashes of luck? There's a dangerous illusion in modern culture that speed equals success. We glorify overnight sensations, viral moments, and sudden exits. But rarely do we talk about what happens after the flash fades. Quick wins are exciting. But they're also fragile. A lucky break can vanish just as fast as it came. A viral post doesn't guarantee a lasting brand. A single deal doesn't build a career. True success, the kind that lasts, is slow, steady, and strategic. Think of the most successful people you know. The ones who've built empires, reputations, and legacies. Their paths weren't marked by sudden explosions of luck. They were built on years of effort, learning, adaptation, and resilience. Slow wins compound. Each small, smart move adds up. Each lesson learned becomes a foundation for the next level. And each setback becomes a stepping stone instead of a tombstone. That's why the best players don't rush. They build. They refine. They evolve. And when the moment comes, they're ready. Because they didn't just win once. They won consistently. The compound effect of small smart choices. You don't need one big breakthrough to change your life. You just need one good decision, repeated. This is the power of compounding. A single healthy meal won't transform your body. But 100 of them? That's a lifestyle. One great conversation won't build a relationship. But 100 meaningful interactions? That's trust. One focused work session won't make you an expert. But 1,000 deliberate hours? That's mastery. Winners understand this truth deeply. They don't obsess over dramatic transformations or grand gestures. Instead, they focus on daily habits, consistent effort, and incremental improvement. They make small, smart choices, and let time turn those choices into extraordinary results. Here's how they do it. 1. They prioritize progress over perfection. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They act with what they have. Even if it's not ideal. Even if it's messy at first. Because they know that starting imperfectly beats waiting endlessly for perfect timing. 2. They build systems, not goals. Goals give you direction. Systems give you consistency. Winners create routines, structures, and habits that support long-term growth, even when motivation dips. They don't rely on willpower. They design environments that make success inevitable. 3. They track what matters. What gets measured gets managed. Whether it's financial progress, skill development, or personal growth, winners track their key metrics. They review them regularly. And they adjust accordingly. This keeps them grounded in reality, not fantasy. 4. They focus on inputs, not just outcomes. They know they can't control everything, but they can control what they put in. Effort. Learning. Discipline. Relationships. Energy. By focusing on inputs, they ensure that even if the outcome isn't immediate, their trajectory remains upward. This is the real secret of the long game. Not magic. Not luck. Just consistent, intelligent action. Repeated. Reflected upon. Refined. And then repeated again. How to avoid burnout while playing the long game. Playing the long game doesn't mean grinding forever without rest. In fact, that's the fastest way to lose. Burnout isn't a badge of honor, it's a sign that your system is broken. So how do you avoid burnout while still staying committed to long-term goals? Here's how winners stay strong without breaking. 1. They schedule recovery like it's a priority. Rest isn't optional. It's part of the plan. Top performers schedule downtime like meetings. They protect sleep like deadlines. They take breaks strategically, because they know energy fuels performance more than time does. If you want to go the distance, you must pace yourself. 2. They know when to push and when to pause. Long-term success requires both intensity and rhythm. Sometimes, you push hard. Other times, you pull back. You assess. You reset. You come back stronger. Winners don't ignore fatigue, they recognize it and adjust accordingly. They don't confuse endurance with ignoring warning signs. They listen to their bodies, minds, and emotions. And they adapt. 3. They celebrate small wins. Big goals can feel distant. So winners celebrate milestones along the way. Every step forward deserves recognition. Every small victory builds momentum. This keeps motivation alive. It reinforces identity. And it reminds you that you're moving in the right direction, even if it's slower than you'd like. 4. They have purpose beyond performance. Burnout often comes from chasing outcomes without meaning. Winners tie their efforts to something bigger than external validation. Purpose fuels perseverance. When your work aligns with your values, burnout becomes less likely. Because you're not just working toward a goal, you're living out a mission. And missions last longer than moments. Delayed gratification as the ultimate weapon. Let's talk about the ultimate weapon in the long game. Delayed gratification. It's not just about saying no to short-term pleasure. It's about choosing long-term fulfillment over fleeting satisfaction. It's the ability to resist the temptation of easy now, for the reward of better later. And it might be the most underrated skill in life and business. Why? Because most people cave under pressure. They choose comfort over challenge. They pick instant dopamine hits over future freedom. They trade long-term gains for short-term relief. But winners don't. They say no to distractions. No to shortcuts. No to false promises of fast success. They say yes to discipline. Yes to patience. Yes to delayed rewards. And because of that, they end up ahead. Always. Because while others are stuck chasing temporary highs, they're already playing the next move. Time is your greatest ally, or your worst enemy. Time is neutral. It passes for everyone. But how you use it determines whether it works for you or against you. Play the long game, and time becomes your ally. Make smart moves, build solid habits, and invest in your growth, and time compounds your efforts. But if you waste it chasing flashes of luck, skipping steps, and avoiding discomfort, time becomes your enemy. Because while you stand still, others move forward. So ask yourself, are you building something that lasts? Or are you betting on something that fades? Because the difference between winning and losing in life and business often comes down to one thing. Did you play the long game? If not yet, start today. Because the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time? Now. Chapter 6. Learn the language of power, influence without manipulation. Power isn't evil, it's neutral. There's a common misconception about power, that it corrupts, that it belongs only to those at the top, or that it must be taken through manipulation. But power isn't inherently good or bad, it's neutral. Like fire, it can destroy, or it can create. And in life and business, influence is the currency of power. Those who understand how to use it wisely don't just survive, they thrive. They lead teams, shape decisions, build movements, and change outcomes, not through force, but through clarity, confidence, and connection. The truth is, everyone has some level of influence. The question is, are you using it effectively? Because influence isn't about control. It's about impact. And the most powerful people aren't the loudest or the most aggressive. They're the ones who know how to communicate with purpose, build trust without compromise, and navigate social dynamics with intelligence. Let's break down how to do exactly that. Understanding social capital and how to build it. You've heard of financial capital. Maybe even human capital. But what about social capital? Social capital is the value of your relationships, reputation, and influence within a network. It's not just about how many people you know, but how much they trust you, respect you, and are willing to support you. Influence grows from social capital. And like any form of capital, it can be invested, grown, or wasted. So how do you build it? 1. Be generous first. People remember who helps them even before they ask. Offer value without expectation. Share insights. Make introductions. Solve small problems before they become big ones. Generosity builds goodwill, and goodwill becomes leverage when you need it most. 2. Be consistently reliable. One-time favors don't build long-term trust. Consistency does. Do what you say you'll do. Show up on time. Deliver quality work. Keep promises. Over time, people begin to associate your name with reliability, and that's priceless. 3. Speak with clarity and confidence. Powerful communication builds authority. Not volume. Not aggression. But clarity. When you speak with certainty, people listen. When you explain your reasoning clearly, people follow. Even if you're not the loudest person in the room, you can still be the most influential. 4. Build your reputation intentionally. Your reputation is how others define you when you're not around. So ask yourself, what do I want people to say about me? What traits do I want associated with my name? Do my actions reflect that? Because influence begins long before you open your mouth. It starts with the way you show up every day. The difference between persuasion and manipulation. Many people confuse persuasion with manipulation. But there's a key difference. Persuasion builds alignment. Manipulation exploits imbalance. Persuasion says, here's why this works for both of us. Manipulation says, here's why this works for me, whether it works for you or not. Winners use persuasion. Losers rely on manipulation. And over time, the difference becomes obvious. Persuaders earn long-term trust, loyalty, and repeat opportunities. manipulators burn bridges, lose credibility, and find themselves isolated. So how do you persuade ethically? 1. Understand the other person's needs. Great persuaders don't start with what they want. They start with what the other person wants. Ask questions. Listen actively. Understand motivations. Then frame your message in terms of their interests, not just yours. 2. Use logic and emotion together. People make decisions based on emotion and justify them with logic. So combine both. Tell a story. Use data. Appeal to values. Make the benefit clear and personal. That's how you move people from resistance to agreement. 3. Be transparent about intentions. Don't hide your agenda, clarify it. Say, I'm bringing this up because I believe it will help us both succeed. Or, I'm asking for this because it aligns with our shared goals. Honesty builds trust. Trust makes persuasion easier. 4. Respect their right to say no. Real influence doesn't require coercion. If someone says no, don't pressure them. Respect their decision and leave the door open. Because influence isn't about winning one battle, it's about staying in the game for the long term. Reading people and situations like a pro. One of the most underrated skills in influence is the ability to read people and situations accurately. This isn't mind reading. It's awareness. It's noticing body language, tone shifts, unspoken tensions, and hidden motivations. And it's what separates average communicators from master influencers. Here's how to develop that skill. 1. Observe before you speak. Before jumping into a conversation, take a moment to assess the mood. Are people energized or drained? Confident or defensive? Open or guarded? Adjust your approach accordingly. Sometimes, silence speaks louder than words. 2. Listen beyond words. Pay attention to tone of voice, facial expressions, posture, pauses and hesitations. These cues often reveal more than spoken language. If someone says yes but looks uncertain, that's a red flag. If someone interrupts frequently, they may feel unheard or anxious. Being observant gives you insight, and insight gives you power. 3. Match energy, then lead it. You can't force someone into your energy. But you can meet them where they are, and then guide them forward. If someone is tense, acknowledge it. If someone is excited, match their enthusiasm. Once you've built rapport, you can gently shift the direction of the conversation. 4. Know when to walk away. Not every situation is winnable. Some people aren't ready to hear what you have to say. Some environments are too toxic to engage in. Recognizing that is wisdom. Walking away at the right time is strength. How to say no, ask for more, and stand your ground. True influence isn't just about getting people to say yes. It's also about knowing when to say no. And about having the courage to ask for what you deserve, even when it feels uncomfortable. Because real power comes from self-respect. Here's how to build that muscle. 1. Say no with grace and clarity. Saying no doesn't mean being rude. It means being honest. Instead of saying, I can't, try, I'd prefer to focus on X right now so I can give it my best. Or, I appreciate the opportunity, but I don't think it's the right fit for me. Say no with confidence, and people will respect you more. 2. Ask for more, strategically. Asking for more, whether it's money, time, or resources, isn't greedy. It's smart negotiation. But timing and framing matter. Ask after delivering value. Frame requests as mutual benefit. Be prepared with reasons why your request makes sense. And don't be afraid to walk away if the offer doesn't match your worth. 3. Stand your ground without ego. Standing firm doesn't mean being stubborn. It means knowing your boundaries and defending them calmly. If someone pressures you into something you don't want, respond with calm confidence. I understand your point. Here's where I stand. Or, I appreciate your perspective. This is how I see it. No defensiveness. No aggression. Just clarity. and that's how you command respect. Influence is earned, not taken. Power doesn't have to be loud. Influence doesn't have to be manipulative. The most powerful people don't need to dominate conversations or control others. They simply know how to show up, speak clearly, listen deeply, and act with integrity. And because of that, people follow them, not out of fear, but out of trust. Because influence, at its core, is about one thing: earning the right to be heard. And once you've earned that right, you don't need to shout to be seen. You don't need to push to be respected. You don't need to manipulate to get results. Because when you speak, people already want to listen. Chapter 7: Business is war, and you're already in the fight. You're not just working, you're battling. There's a dangerous illusion that business is polite. That if you work hard, play fair, and stay out of politics, success will eventually come your way. But here's the brutal truth. Business is war. Not in the violent sense, but in every other way that matters. It's a battlefield of ideas, resources, talent, attention, and market share. And whether you like it or not, you're already in the fight. Every time you apply for a job, pitch an idea, negotiate a raise, launch a product, or try to grow your influence, you're engaging in strategic combat. The only question is, are you fighting to win? Or are you hoping someone will hand you victory without a struggle? Because in business, as in war, the cost of complacency isn't just losing. It's being eliminated. Why survival requires aggression and innovation. Most people think survival in business comes down to doing your job well and staying under the radar. But that's how you become replaceable. Real survival and real success requires something more. Aggression. Innovation. Initiative. You don't rise by waiting. You rise by taking calculated risks, pushing boundaries, and constantly improving what you offer. Think about the companies that dominate industries. They didn't get there by playing safe. Amazon disrupted retail. Apple redefined technology. Netflix killed Blockbuster with innovation and then kept evolving. These weren't acts of kindness. They were strategic offensives. And in your own career or business, the same principle applies. If you want to stay relevant, you must constantly improve, adapt, and outmaneuver the competition. Because the moment you stop moving forward, someone else will take your place. How markets really work and how to exploit inefficiencies. We're taught that markets are efficient, that prices reflect value, that the best products win, and that fairness prevails. But anyone who's been in business long enough knows the truth. Markets are full of inefficiencies. And those who recognize them first, win big. Here's how the game really works. 1. Value isn't always recognized immediately. Sometimes the best product doesn't win, not because it's inferior, but because no one knows it exists. Marketing, storytelling, positioning, and distribution matter as much as quality. So if you're great at what you do but invisible, you'll lose to someone less skilled but better at getting noticed. 2. People buy emotionally, justify logically. No matter what industry you're in, decisions are made based on emotion and justified with logic. Winners understand this. They sell benefits, not features. They tell stories, not facts. They create desire, not just offers. Master this, and you control the narrative. 3. Scarcity drives value. When something is rare, it becomes valuable even if it wasn't before. This is why exclusivity, urgency, and limited availability drive demand. Create perceived scarcity around your skills, services, or brand, and you instantly increase your leverage. 4. Timing beats perfection. Waiting until everything is perfect means missing opportunities. The best players move early, not when they're fully ready, but when they see the opening. Timing is everything. And sometimes, being first beats being best. So study the landscape. Understand the trends. Watch for gaps. Then strike before others even realize there's a battle to be fought. The importance of personal branding in a crowded space. In a world where everyone has access to the same tools, platforms, and information, what sets you apart? Your personal brand. It's not about vanity. It's about visibility. It's how people recognize, remember, and refer you. And in a crowded marketplace, it's the difference between being ignored and being in demand. Here's how to build a powerful personal brand. 1. Define your unique position. What do you do better than most? What problems do you solve uniquely? What values define your approach? Be specific. Be different. Be memorable. 2. Show up consistently. Consistency builds trust. Post regularly. Speak clearly. Deliver consistently. Over time, people begin to associate your name with expertise. 3. Tell your story. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Share your journey. Explain your mission. Connect on a human level. A compelling story makes you unforgettable. 4. Build social proof. Testimonials. Case studies. Media mentions. Referrals. They all serve the same purpose, proving that you deliver results. Because in a competitive world, credibility is currency. So build yours intentionally. Building multiple income streams before you need them. One of the biggest mistakes professionals and entrepreneurs make is relying on a single source of income. An employer. A client. A product. And when that source dries up, so does their stability. Winners know this. That's why they build multiple income streams before they need them. Why? Because diversification is protection. Because income streams compound. And because financial independence starts with options. Here's how to start building them. 1. Start small, but start now. You don't need to quit your job or launch a full-time side business overnight. Write articles. Sell digital products. Offer consulting. Teach a skill. Even $100 extra per month adds up over time. 2. Leverage what you already know. You already have knowledge, experience, and skills. Turn them into courses, guides, newsletters, or memberships. Monetize what you already do well. 3. Automate where possible. Use technology to scale. Email lists. Membership sites. Online courses. Passive income models. Once set up, these systems can generate revenue while you focus elsewhere. 4. Invest in assets, not just activities. Time for money jobs hit a ceiling. Assets, like intellectual property, investments, or businesses, don't. Build things that keep earning, even when you're not working. Because true freedom comes from having choices. And choices come from having options. Winning in business isn't optional, it's survival. You didn't choose to enter the battlefield. But you did. Whether you're an entrepreneur launching a startup or an employee trying to climb the corporate ladder, you're in the fight. And in war, hesitation gets you killed. Complacency gets you replaced. Neutrality gets you erased. So stop pretending business is kind. Stop hoping for fairness. Stop waiting for permission. Instead, prepare. Study. Adapt. Execute. Because in business, as in war, victory doesn't go to the strongest. It goes to the smartest. To the fastest. To the ones who understood the game and played it to win. Chapter 8, Win or Lose, but don't play to survive. Survival is not victory. Most people are not living, they're surviving. They wake up dreading the day. They go through the motions at work. They come home exhausted, only to do it all again the next day. They're not chasing dreams. They're just trying to keep their heads above water. And that's the trap. Because survival mode feels safe, but it's actually dangerous. It keeps you stuck in maintenance instead of momentum. In reaction instead of action. In fear instead of freedom. Survival is not a strategy. It's a slow surrender. And if you want to win in life, business, and the mind, you must break free from it. You must stop playing defense and start playing to win. Escaping the trap of just getting by. There's a quiet war going on inside most people. One between comfort and courage. Between settling and striving. Between staying safe and stepping forward. Most people choose safety because they believe it's the only option. That real success is for someone else. That risk is too dangerous. That change is too hard. But here's the truth. Staying small doesn't protect you, it limits you. Getting by doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you stuck. And comfort? It's not a refuge. It's a cage. So how do you escape this trap? 1. Recognize when you're settling. Ask yourself, am I growing, or just going through the motions? Am I building something, or just maintaining what I have? Am I excited about my direction, or just afraid of losing what I've got? If the answers lean towards stagnation, it's time to reset. 2. Define what winning looks like for you. Don't live by other people's standards of success. Create your own. Winning isn't about money, titles, or status. It's about fulfillment, freedom, and control over your own life. Figure out what matters to you, not what society says you should want. Then build toward that. 3. Take one small offensive move today. You don't need a grand plan to escape survival mode. Just one offensive move. That could be pitching an idea you've been holding back. Asking for more, whether it's money, opportunity, or support. Learning a new skill that pushes you out of your comfort zone. Investing in yourself when everyone else tells you to wait. Momentum starts with movement. Even a small step forward breaks the cycle of survival. And once you start moving, you can't help but accelerate. Creating momentum instead of managing crisis. Most people live in crisis management mode. They react to problems as they come. They put out fires. They deal with emergencies. And by the time they catch their breath, the next problem hits. This is not leadership. This is exhaustion disguised as effort. Winners don't manage crises. They create momentum. They build systems, habits, and strategies that prevent constant breakdowns. They anticipate problems before they happen. And when setbacks occur, they recover faster, not because they avoid failure, but because they expect it and prepare for it. Here's how to shift from managing chaos to creating momentum. 1. Build systems before you need them. Don't wait until things fall apart to fix them. Create routines, processes, and structures before the pressure hits. Have a financial buffer. A health routine. A learning habit. A personal brand. These aren't luxuries. They're shields against instability. 2. Plan ahead, execute daily. Great players don't just show up and wing it. They study the game. They make plans. Then they execute, day after day. Set quarterly goals. Break them into monthly targets. Then daily actions. Momentum comes from consistency, not intensity. 3. Celebrate wins, no matter how small. Momentum feeds on itself. Every small win builds confidence. Every completed task proves capability. Every bit of progress reinforces identity. Track your wins. Share them. Reflect on them. Because momentum is built one victory at a time. Redefining success on your terms, not society's. We've been taught to measure success by external standards. The job title. The salary. The car. The house. The number of followers. But these metrics don't define who you are. They define what others want you to be. Real success comes from within. From knowing what you value. From building a life aligned with those values. From choosing your path, even if it looks different from everyone else's. So ask yourself, what does winning really mean to me? Is it freedom? Impact? Growth? Legacy? Security? Joy? Once you answer that question honestly, you can stop chasing what doesn't matter and start building what does. Here's how to redefine success on your terms. 1. Unplug from comparison. Comparison is poison. It steals joy. It kills motivation. It distorts reality. Stop measuring your journey against others. Your timeline is yours. Your path is yours. Your success is yours. Own it. 2. Live by your values. Values are compasses. They guide decisions. They define priorities. They shape behavior. Write down your top 5 values. Then ask, does my current life reflect them? If not, change course. Because success without alignment is empty. 3. Measure what truly matters. Forget vanity metrics. Focus on what actually impacts your life. Are you growing? Are you contributing? Are you improving? Are you enjoying the process? Success is not a finish line. It's a way of being. And when you define it for yourself, you become unstoppable. Why comfort is the enemy of greatness. Comfort is seductive. It whispers, you've done enough. It tells you, rest now. There will be time later. But greatness doesn't grow in comfort zones. It's born in challenge. Forged in discomfort. Built through struggle. The most successful people aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to stay comfortable. Who chose growth over ease. Who embraced uncertainty rather than avoiding it. So how do you fight comfort? 1. Seek discomfort intentionally. Schedule hard conversations. Take on projects that scare you. Speak in front of people. Try something new, even if you might fail. Discomfort is not punishment. It's training. 2. Surround yourself with high standards. You rise to the level of the people around you. So surround yourself with those who push, challenge, and inspire you. Because comfort is contagious. So is excellence. Choose wisely. 3. Embrace the grind. Winners don't love pain. But they accept that growth requires effort. They embrace the grind, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know it leads to strength. So stop looking for shortcuts. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start doing the work, even when it's hard. Because greatness isn't found in comfort. It's earned through courage. You were meant to win, not just survive. You were not born to survive. You were born to thrive. To lead. To build. To conquer challenges. To leave a mark. Survival is temporary. Victory is lasting. So stop playing not to lose. Start playing to win. Because the moment you decide to stop settling, everything changes. You stop fearing risk. You stop accepting less. You stop waiting. And you start taking control. Of your career. Of your finances. Of your mindset. Of your life. Because in the end, there are only 2 choices. Play to win. Or play to survive. Which one are you choosing today? Chapter 9. Adapt or die. Agility is survival. Change is constant, but only the agile survive. There is one universal truth in life, business, in the mind. Change never stops. Markets shift. Technologies evolve. Trends come and go. Rules change. People rise and fall based on their ability to keep up. And yet, most people live as if the world will stay exactly as it is today. They stick to what worked yesterday. They rely on skills that are becoming obsolete. They expect stability in a system built on disruption. This is not just outdated thinking. It's dangerous thinking. Because in a world where change is the only constant, rigidity equals extinction. You don't have to look far to see this in action. Companies that dominated industries for decades, then vanished overnight. Careers built on expertise that suddenly became irrelevant. People who played by the old rules, only to find themselves left behind. The difference between those who survive and those who thrive? Agility. The ability to read the game, adjust strategy, and evolve faster than the competition. Winners don't resist change. They anticipate it. They embrace it. They use it to their advantage. Because they understand one simple fact. If you don't adapt, you die. How to anticipate change before it crushes you. Most people react to change after it hits them in the face. Winners see it coming long before it arrives. They don't wait for disruption to knock them down. They study trends. They listen to signals. They pay attention to shifts in technology, culture, economics, and human behavior. Here's how they do it. 1. Stay connected to the edge. The future doesn't arrive all at once, it starts at the edges. New ideas emerge in niche communities, startups, research labs, and fringe markets. Winners stay close to these edges. They follow innovators, read unconventional sources, and explore fields outside their own. By staying connected to what's emerging, they're rarely surprised by what's next. 2. Ask the right questions. Instead of asking, "What's working now?" winners ask, "What's changing in my industry? What new tools or platforms are gaining traction? Who's doing something different, and why? What could make my current approach obsolete?" These questions build awareness, and awareness builds readiness. 3. Build a scenario mindset. Rather than assuming one future, agile thinkers prepare for multiple possibilities. They ask, what if demand for my skill drops? What if automation replaces part of my job? What if customer preferences shift dramatically? What if a competitor emerges from an unexpected place? By planning for different outcomes, they're ready when change finally hits. The danger of sticking to what worked yesterday. There's a dangerous trap called past success syndrome. It happens when people become so attached to what worked before that they refuse to let go even when the world has moved on. And it kills progress. Think of companies like Kodak, Blockbuster, or Sears. At one point, they were dominant. They had everything going for them. But they clung to the past. They ignored signs of change. And they paid the ultimate price. The same thing happens in careers. People get promoted based on yesterday's performance, then fail to grow when expectations shift. They rely on relationships that no longer carry weight. They hold on to strategies that no longer work. And when the environment changes, they break. Because they forgot one key rule. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Success isn't about repeating the past. It's about evolving faster than the competition. So don't worship what worked before. Use it as fuel to build what comes next. Becoming anti-fragile in an unpredictable world. Nassim Taleb introduced the concept of anti-fragility, the idea that some things actually benefit from stress, volatility, and uncertainty. Unlike fragile systems that break under pressure, or resilient ones that simply endure, anti-fragile systems improve when exposed to chaos. That's the goal. To not just survive uncertainty, but to thrive in it. Here's how to become anti-fragile. 1. Embrace stress as training. Stress is not the enemy. It's the signal that growth is happening. When you face challenges, learn from them. When you encounter setbacks, extract lessons. When you feel overwhelmed, refine your systems. Every obstacle becomes a test. And every test makes you stronger. 2. Diversify your bets. Put your eggs in multiple baskets. Multiple income streams. Multiple skill sets. Multiple networks. That way, if one area falters, others can support you. Diversification isn't just financial strategy. It's survival strategy. 3. Build redundancy into your systems. Have backup plans. Emergency funds. Alternative paths. Don't put everything into one outcome. Create buffers in your finances, relationships, and capabilities. Because when the unexpected happens, you'll be ready. 4. Keep learning continuously. Knowledge is your greatest asset. And the more you know, the more adaptable you become. Read widely. Learn constantly. Stay curious. Because the more mental models you have, the better you can navigate complexity. Learning how to learn faster than others. In a fast-changing world, knowledge alone won't save you. Speed of learning will. Because the person who learns fastest adapts quickest and wins the race. So how do you accelerate your learning curve? Here's how elite performers do it. 1. Focus on high-leverage skills. Not all knowledge is equal. Master skills that compound over time, like critical thinking, communication, negotiation, and strategic decision-making. These skills apply across industries, roles, and environments. They scale with you. 2. Use the 80-20 rule ruthlessly. You don't need to master everything. Just the 20% that produces 80% of the results. Identify core principles. Focus on high-impact areas. Eliminate unnecessary details. Speed comes from focus. 3. Learn by doing, then reflect. Reading is good, but application is better. Jump in. Experiment. Make mistakes. Then review what worked and what didn't. Fast learners don't just absorb information. They act on it and improve through feedback. 4. Teach what you learn. Explaining concepts to others forces clarity. If you can teach it, you truly understand it. Use writing, speaking, or mentoring as tools to reinforce your own learning. 5. Surround yourself with smarter people. Learning doesn't happen in isolation. It accelerates when you're around people who challenge you, expose you to new ideas, and push you beyond your limits. Seek mentors. Join masterminds. Engage in meaningful conversations. Because the fastest way to grow is to stand on the shoulders of giants. Agility is the new strength. You don't need to be the strongest to win. You don't need to be the smartest. You just need to be the most adaptable. Because in a world ruled by change, agility is strength. It's the ability to pivot when others panic. To evolve when others resist. To lead when others are lost. So stop clinging to certainty. Stop fearing change. Start training for unpredictability. Because the future belongs not to the biggest or the best funded. It belongs to the most agile. And that can be you, if you choose to play the game differently. Now go out there. Adapt. Move fast. Outthink. Outlearn. Outperform. Because in the end, there are only two kinds of people. Those who change with the times. And those who get left behind. Which one will you be? Chapter 10, Endgame, what's your legacy? Winning means nothing if you don't know why you're playing. You've made it this far. You've learned how to see the game clearly. How to master emotions, build discipline, play the long game, and win in business. You've developed influence, agility, and elite thinking habits. You've adapted, led, and thrived under pressure. But now comes the final question, the one most people never ask. Why are you playing at all? Because if winning doesn't serve a greater purpose, it becomes empty. Accumulating trophies, titles, and wealth without meaning leaves a hollow victory. You can conquer every battlefield, and still feel like something is missing. That's because true success isn't just about winning the game. It's about defining what the game means to you. And deciding what you leave behind when you walk off the field for good. Defining success beyond money and status. For most of this book, we've focused on strategy, mindset, and execution. We've talked about power, influence, and domination in life and business. But here's the truth. Money fades. Status shifts. Titles expire. And unless you anchor your wins to something deeper, they won't satisfy you in the long run. Real success isn't measured by what you accumulate. It's measured by what you become and what you give back. So how do you define success beyond external validation? 1. Ask yourself what truly matters. Sit down. Be honest. What do you care about more than anything? Family? Freedom? Impact? Growth? Legacy? These aren't just abstract ideas. They're the compass that guides your decisions. Without them, you'll chase goals that don't align with who you really are. 2. Measure what can't be bought. Some of the most valuable things in life don't come with a price tag. Integrity. Peace of mind. Relationships. Contribution. Meaning. Winners know this. They track these metrics as carefully as financial ones. Because they understand that real wealth isn't just in the bank. It's in the depth of their character and the lives they touch. 3. Build a life that reflects your values. Success that contradicts your values leads to inner conflict. You might look successful from the outside, but feel disconnected inside. So make sure your path reflects your principles. Say no to opportunities that compromise your integrity. Walk away from deals that cost you peace. Choose alignment over convenience. Because in the end, you won't regret doing the right thing. You'll only regret not doing it sooner. Building a life that matters, not just a career. Most people spend their lives building careers. A few build businesses. Even fewer build legacies. There's a difference. A career is what you do. A business is what you own. A legacy is what you leave behind. And only one of those lasts after you're gone. So ask yourself, when you're no longer here, will anyone remember you? More importantly, will it matter that you were here? The answer depends on whether you built a life that mattered, not just a resume that impressed. Here's how to start building that kind of life. 1. Invest in people. No amount of money or status will outlive you like the impact you have on others. Mentor someone. Lift someone up. Share your knowledge. Care deeply. People remember those who changed their lives, not just those who had impressive titles. 2. Create something that outlives you. Write. Teach. Build systems. Start movements. Leave behind tools, ideas, or institutions that continue serving others long after you're gone. This is how you achieve immortality, not through ego, but through contribution. 3. Live with intention every day. Don't wait until retirement to start living. Don't put off meaning until someday. Make every day count. Show up fully. Love deeply. Give generously. Because the best legacy isn't something you plan. It's something you live every single day. The responsibility of winning. Winning comes with a cost. But more importantly, it comes with a responsibility. Because once you've mastered the game, you can't ignore the effect you have on it. Every action has consequences. Every decision impacts others. And every winner must decide. Will I use my power for personal gain only? Or will I use it to lift others up? Because real mastery isn't just about rising to the top. It's about making the climb worth something bigger than yourself. That's the responsibility of winning. And it separates those who truly lead from those who simply dominate. Here's how to carry that responsibility well. 1. Use influence wisely. Influence is a form of power. And power unchecked becomes dangerous. So always ask, am I using my influence to help or to control? To inspire or to impress? To empower or to exploit? Your answer defines your legacy. 2. Give back more than you take. True wealth is measured not by what you keep, but by what you give. Knowledge. Time. Opportunity. Support. Help others rise, even if they could one day compete with you. Because real confidence doesn't fear competition. It creates it. 3. Lead with humility. Greatness doesn't require arrogance. In fact, humility is often the mark of true strength. Acknowledge what you don't know. Credit those who helped you. Keep learning, even after you've reached the top. Because the moment you stop growing is the moment you start fading. Leaving the game better than you found it. You didn't create the world you inherited. You didn't write the rules of the game. You didn't build the systems that shape your reality. But you can leave them better than you found them. That's the ultimate goal. Not just to win, but to improve the game itself. To make it fairer, stronger, more inclusive, and more meaningful for those who come after you. Because legacy isn't about being remembered. It's about making a difference. So ask yourself, what can I do today, this week, this year, that future generations will benefit from? How can I contribute to something larger than myself? What kind of world do I want to leave behind? Answer those questions honestly. Then act on them. Because the greatest players don't just win. They change the game forever. Final thought, the game ends, but your impact lasts forever. You will not play forever. One day, you'll step off the field for the last time. Your career will end. Your business may pass to someone else. Your name may fade from headlines. But your impact? That lasts. Your choices. Your values. Your kindness. Your courage. Your willingness to lead, to teach, to give, to fight for something greater than yourself. That's what remains. So don't just play to win. Play to matter. Because in the end, the only thing that survives you is what you left behind. Make sure it was worth the journey. Master the game, then play it on your terms. Congratulations, you've reached the end of this book. But you've also reached the beginning of something much bigger. Because now, you understand the game. You know how to think like a winner. You've built the mindset, habits, strategies, and resilience required to thrive in life, business, and the mind. But knowledge alone doesn't win games. Action does. So take what you've learned. Apply it relentlessly. Refine it constantly. Teach it generously. And above all, play with purpose. Because now, you're not just playing to survive. You're playing to win. And even more importantly, you're playing to leave a legacy that lasts. Keep playing. The game never ends. You've reached the final chapter. But make no mistake. The game never ends. There will always be a new challenge. A new opponent. A new level to reach. Winning isn't a destination. It's a mindset. A way of moving through life with clarity, strategy, and relentless forward motion. And once you understand that, you stop chasing endings, and start embracing evolution. Because the moment you think you've made it, is the moment you begin to fall behind. There will always be a new challenge. No matter how high you rise, there will always be something bigger waiting for you. A tougher market. A smarter competitor. A faster changing world. That's not discouraging. That's exciting. Because growth only happens when you're pushed beyond your current limits. Every obstacle is an invitation. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Every failure is fuel for the next level. So don't fear the next challenge. Welcome it. Because that's where real winners are made. The only true loss is quitting. You can lose a battle. You can lose a round. You can even lose your footing for a while. But as long as you keep playing, you haven't lost the game. Only quitting ends the match. Everything else? Just part of the process. So if you ever feel like giving up, remember this. Every great winner has stood where you are now. Doubt, fatigue, fear, they all show up. But they don't decide the outcome. You do. And as long as you choose to stay in the game, you still have a chance to win. Stay sharp, stay hungry, stay in the game. Winning isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about staying sharp when others get lazy. Staying hungry when others settle. Staying focused when others get distracted. Because discipline fades without awareness. Vision blurs without clarity. And momentum dies without action. So protect your edge. Keep learning. Keep adapting. Keep pushing. Not because winning is easy, but because it's worth it. Because the best version of yourself is still out there, waiting for you to claim it. Final words. Master the Game was never just about success. It was about becoming someone who can handle anything. Who doesn't wait for luck, but creates opportunity. Who doesn't complain about the rules, but plays them better than anyone else. Who doesn't fear the game, but masters it. Now go out there. Play hard. Play smart. Play to win. And above all, keep playing. Thank you for listening to Master the Game, Winning in Life, Business, and the Mind. If this book gave you value, please share it with someone who needs to hear its message. Because the game is happening, whether they realize it or not. And now, so are you.